Hello, welcome to Saints Live. I'm Kenzie Benali.
And I'm Steve Forbes.
And today, Southampton will be hoping that their 7-game unbeaten run will continue when they welcome Manchester United to the South Coast. We'll be previewing that game shortly, as well as discussing the news that fans are coming back to stadiums next week. And of course, we'll be hearing from you guys watching along at home as well.
Yeah, and here to chat about all of that with us is Dean Hammond and Adam Leitch. How has your week been since Monday, gentlemen?
Very good, thank you. Yeah, good. Spending time with the family, but looking forward to today's game.
Yeah, same for me. It's been nice. It doesn't seem like it was very long ago we were all last talking, but yeah, it's nice to get to this time of year, isn't it? Where you kind of get a bit of a flow in the season again. You don't have all the international breaks, and it kind of things take shape, and the storylines that come out of it, I always like at this time of year as well, because you actually get some narrative to it. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to the next few weeks as well.
You got your Christmas trees up yet?
No, not yet, actually. I was planning to do it today, but I had to let the kids down because obviously the Southampton game's a little bit more important. So,
Do you have a real tree?
no, not a real tree, no.
Right, let's dive
One
right.
that's made out of like... I was going to say mine's like made out of pallets. It's like a pallet tree. It's quite unique, but I quite like it.
Wow, that sounds something special.
Okay.
Maybe in the next Saints Live we can have a little look.
Yeah, we'll show a picture of that. Right, let's dive into it then today. So team news is going to be in less than 15 minutes time. There's no new injury concerns for Ralph, but Nathan Redmond is probably back in contention for today. Dean, do you expect Ralph to make any changes for the lineup?
No, not really. I don't anticipate any changes. Not after the performance against Wolves and the result and the previous home victory against Newcastle. I don't really foresee any changes. The team's performing well. We say it every week. There's the understanding between the players is increasing all the time and developing. There's good partnerships on the pitch and within the team. So I can't really see the manager making any changes unless, a player is feeling fatigued or tired. So the team is performing very well. They have that understanding. They're enjoying playing. They're picking up some really good results at home and performances at home. So I think the manager will stay consistent and pick the same team.
Yeah, Adam, do you think it's going to be the same starting 11 from Monday night?
Yeah, exactly the same as Dean. My feelings are completely the same. Just why would you change it right now unless you have to? A bit of a different situation maybe when Danny Ings is back again. But right now, they're confident. They're really confident in the way they're playing as well. And without Danny Ings as well, they kind of have sort of found a way of kind of getting through this period that's really quite impressive, to be honest. So I feel why there's no real need to change it unless you've got to right now. So I think that if he can, Ralph will stick with the same team.
Dean, as Steve mentioned at the beginning of the show, we know Nathan Redmond is back in contention for today's game. It does seem to be the same kind of dilemma for Ralph, doesn't it, between Moussa Djenepo and Nathan Redmond fighting for that same spot. In your opinion, what are the kind of pros and cons for each of them?
They're both excellent players. They're both ball-carrying players, which is good. You need that in the team, especially with Stuart Armstrong on the opposite side. They've both been good quality to the team. So it's a hard selection for the manager. Djenepo's come in and he's finding his feet now. It's because he's getting that consistency in the team. I believe he's building up that confidence and getting more familiar playing with the players. And you're seeing some, snippets and excellent touches from him. We've commented on the flicks that he brings in and that creativity and that extra bit of magic. And Nathan is very, very experienced. I love the way Nathan runs with the ball. He commits players, he takes players on. Yes, there's a question mark sometimes over his final delivery and in his finishing. And if he could improve that, then I think he will be, an even better player. So they both bring real quality to the team. I just think Nathan has a little bit more experience and Premier League experience, but Djenepo is producing better performances. And we mentioned it last week, especially defensively. He's understanding the shape now and he's really helping out his teammates to win the ball back. I think he's enjoying the way that Southampton play. They have a lot more possession, so he's getting a lot more touches in more dangerous areas. So it's hard to choose between them. I wouldn't like that decision for the manager, but I'm sure he's pretty happy with it because he's got quality within the squad. So Djenepo's got the shirt at the moment. He's performing well. The team's performing well. So I would stick with him.
Now, Adam, Ralph confirmed in his press conference on Friday that Danny Ings could actually be back for our next game at Brighton. Now, clearly that's great news, but does that actually make the Djenepo-Redmond argument redundant, with Theo Walcott likely to drop back to the wing?
Well, I mean, I guess if you were looking at it on paper and all things being equal, probably the answer to that is yes. But Danny still has to be fit enough to come straight into the starting lineup. And I don't think with so many games coming up, Ralph is going to take any unnecessary risks with Danny, especially if Theo and Che kind of work again today, and especially if they get a good result. The sort of pressure is off a little bit more to hurry him back, if you don't need to. So obviously they want him back, and Ralph will put him straight back in the team when he's ready. But I'm sure that he will feel a bit more comforted at the moment that he give him a bit of time if he needs to. As and when Danny does come back, then yes, I do think you've got Danny and Che up front, and then you've got Stuart Armstrong and Theo behind. He's not going to drop Theo realistically, and unless obviously Theo's out through injury or is fatigued in some way. But then the flip side of that, all I would say is, this is I think today marks the start of 7 games in about 4 to 5 weeks. So it's a very, very busy period. And if you think for one moment that a front four are going to play all of those games without injury, suspension, or fatigue in some way, I think you're fairly deluded. So I would say that in that respect, having the availability of Djenepo and Redmond, and especially with Djenepo having played quite a bit as well and being sharp, I would expect them both to probably get game time regardless over the next 4 to 5 weeks. So, and with Djenepo being so sharp and able to come in and slot in fairly seamlessly now, having played a bit, I just think it's a real positive for Saints. So for me, I guess if and when it happens and Djenepo drops out, he would be right to feel a little bit upset about that, I'm sure. But in the wider context for Ralph and for Saints, it's only positive because they've got so many options in that area.
Well, we will be bringing you the team news in just over 7 minutes' time. But before we do that, let's take a look at what's being said on our social channels. Already getting lots of positive comments in from the fans. Ethan's commented on YouTube saying he's going for a 3-0 win to the Saints today, up the Saints. He's not the only one that's going for a clean sheet. Craig's got in touch on Facebook. He's going for a 2-0 win. He says, come on you Saints, Adams and Walcott to score. And he's watching from New Milton. Thanks for getting in touch, Craig. And Glenn has left us a comment as well. He's on YouTube. He says, we've got this today, boys. Now, as Adam just alluded to, the Saints are heading into a busy period. They will face 7 games in just 4 weeks in December. And Ralph touched on the busy festive period in his latest press conference.
I mean, I was never mooning about any fixtures. I think we have the difference that we are out in the in the League Cup. We have no international games, so for us it's easier than for the top 6 flights maybe. But I mean, also last season, the time with the fixtures following very, very quickly was the most successful for us. So we are a fit team. We need automatism. The more we have, we don't struggle, or we should hopefully not struggle with a lot of games. We have a good balanced squad, not too big, not too small. When we have some injury problems like we have now with Ingsy and Reddy, we still are able to perform well. And so for me, the fixtures, I think we are happy because we have what I really sometimes don't understand are the 48 hours between 2 games. This is definitely something. This is for the players also tough. We had it last season also and still performed well, but it's not the best for the quality of the game, to be honest, because the players cannot push like they normally want to. So, but we don't have this over Christmas. We have always 2 days in between the 2 games. So this is okay for me, absolutely, and we take it as it is, never mooning about. I think it's the wrong signal to do it.
That was Ralph there talking about the games coming up in December. But Adam, is it really good to see Ralph talk about the busy schedule with such positivity there?
Yeah, and I don't, to be honest, I don't really see there's any reason not to. Not only are Saints playing well and they've got momentum and that kind of thing, but actually there's been so much talk about the schedule, isn't there? I mean, even yesterday, obviously, the comments that Jurgen Klopp was making after the game towards the scheduling yet again, and we've heard a lot of that from the top managers. But for Saints, they're not in European action. They've got knocked out of the League Cup, unfortunately. So yes, there's still quite a lot of games, and of course it's demanding for the players, but it's not too bad when you consider some of the festive schedules that they've had in the past. I mean, some of them have been brutal, to be honest. This year it doesn't look to be actually all that bad to me, in terms of just sheer number of games and the way that it's broken down and the way that Christmas has fallen, and so the fixtures have fallen around it. So I think he's right to be positive, and I think from a player's point of view as well, the Saints guys, they don't need to hear somebody making excuses for them right now. I think that positivity that Ralph brings to it and exudes kind of, reduces any kind of excuse culture as well. And he won't want the players moping and feeling sorry for themselves for having too many games. If you were him, you'd be saying, look, we have got a few teams coming up that are playing more demanding fixture schedules than us. This is our chance to take advantage of that. We can take advantage of their pile up in fixtures and the fact they're already tired and suffering injuries. This is a great opportunity for us. And I think trying to sell it that way is really refreshing for the minds of the players at a time when their bodies will start to naturally tire. So I think it's a smart move, and I think it's a sensible move as well, logically, I think, because I actually don't think their schedule for the time of year is actually that bad.
Yeah, it's so good to see the positivity from Ralph, isn't it? And Dean, I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts from a player's perspective. Is this the kind of time of year that you enjoyed the games coming thick and fast and kind of relished all that game time?
You do, you really do. And I mean, I really like the manager's comments. I agree with Adam. It's very smart of him. It's keeping that positive momentum within the group. But as a player, you just enjoy playing games. The less you can train, the better, if that makes sense. You just want to be playing matches. And if the games are coming thick and fast, especially in the festive period, there's less distractions. Everyone's celebrating around Christmas time. There's family distractions. There's family obligations. But if you're playing games regularly, you're going to be traveling a lot. So you don't have to deal with them distractions. You don't have to concern yourself with them responsibilities. So you enjoy playing more. The clubs and the managers will adapt the training methods, so the players won't feel the fatigue. The sports science within the game now is very, very good. So the players will be well recovered, they'll be well prepared for games. So no, really, I mean, I used to really enjoy this period because when you're winning and you're performing well, you can increase that momentum. You can win another game. The game comes around quick, you can win another game. So you can earn a lot of points in this period, and it can really set you up for the rest of the season. So I think it's good for the players, and it's especially good for Southampton because of the position they're in. And like Adam mentioned, they haven't got European obligations. Other teams have. Southampton are near the top end of the league, so they're competing against them teams that are playing in Europe and more competitions. So no, it's positive. And again, it's another good comment and good information passed on for the manager to the players.
Yeah, we've got just over a minute until that team news comes in. Dean, I'm just going to stick with you here quickly because I'm interested. What was the best bit about Christmas at the club? Do they put on a good spread? Did you get a good dinner?
Do you know what you do, actually? A few days before Christmas, you used to have a nice Christmas dinner in the canteen, all players and staff together. Bit of fun. Obviously, no alcohol, but it was good fun. A few sing-songs from the younger players as well, which was nice. Which I'm not sure they do anymore if they're allowed to do it, but it was harmless fun. It was a good time of year. And the worst part was having to try and train on Christmas Day. I didn't enjoy that, I must admit. But they used to put on a good spread.
It's always such a tough time, isn't it? Because as you say, that's the kind of things people don't think about, the time that you have to put on away from the matches. It is tough for the families as well. Now, as Steve mentioned, the team news is coming your way in just under 20 seconds time. So make sure you keep getting those comments into us. still just a bit of time to tell us who you'd like to see in that starting 11. Dean and Adam don't anticipate any changes to the side to take on Manchester United today, but I do have the team here. We can tell you that the team facing the Red Devils this afternoon is an unchanged side, as we expected. No real surprises there. So let's take a look at that Saints team in full then. Alex Mccarthy in goal. The back four: Kyle Walker-Peters, Jan Bednarek, Yannick Vestergaard and Ryan Bertrand. Making up the middle: Stuart Armstrong, our captain James Ward-Prowse, Oriol Romeu and Moussa Djenepo. Shea Adams leads the line, and alongside him is Theo Walcott, who of course scored his first goal since rejoining the Saints last week. A look at the Southampton substitutes then: Fraser Forster, Jack Stevens, Ibrahima Diallo, Nathan Teller, Michael Obafemi, Shane Long and Dan N'Lundulu. So Adam, let's come to you then. Surprisingly, no Nathan Redmond even on the bench. What do you make of that decision from Ralph?
Well, I guess at the moment we kind of touched on it. He actually does have options at the moment, and I guess he will be the closest to assess just how fit he is and what sort of shape he's in. And yeah, I guess when you've got this big period of games, a bit like we mentioned with Danny Ings, there's really, what's the motivation to take the risk? You've got other players, you've got a squad for a reason, you've got to trust in those guys. And let's be honest, Dean and I both said beforehand, Nathan Redmond wasn't going to come straight back into the starting lineup today with the way the team are performing. So you might have expected him to be on the bench, but perhaps Ralph has just thought, actually, I don't think he's quite ready. He would only perhaps play maximum 15, 20 minutes. I'm actually just going to give him one more week on the training ground with all the players, and he'll be ready. And I guess that Ralph's the one who sees him most closely. And so it kind of makes sense. What's the point of pushing him out there 15, 20 minutes, or putting him on the bench if you think in the back of your mind, I don't really want to bring him on because I don't think he's ready. Well, in that case, you've got to trust in the rest of your squad that they're capable of filling that gap. And if that's what he's decided, then I think caution is probably the right way to go, given the number of games coming up.
Dean, United are without Pogba and McTominay. How do you think this Southampton side will shape up against Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's men today?
It's going to be a tough test, because whatever Manchester United team you're playing against, they're a top team. They're a top club. They've got world-class players. Yes, they may not be a Manchester United of old, but if they turn up and they're on form, they're a force for anyone. So Southampton are going to have to be at their best, but they have been consistently this season. I think today is the 10th league game of the season. So the team's playing very, very well. And I'd like, again, I don't think the manager will change his approach for Southampton to attack Man United. That is where their frailties are. That's where they're weak defensively. They will give you opportunities. Yes, they're going to be dangerous going forward. So Southampton need to concentrate when they have the ball and potentially turn the ball over when they're attacking on the break. But I'm confident Southampton could put a really good performance in today and test Man United. And it all depends on, how well the big players for Man United play. So it'd be interesting to see, but I'm confident that Southampton can put another good, strong performance in. And if they do that, they've got a very good chance of getting a good result.
Yeah, it is an unchanged side. Someone who's unchanged is Alex McCarthy. He's still in between the sticks. Adam, last week you spoke about his performance against Wolves, and maybe we might be able to see him in an England shirt in the near future. Is that a real possibility?
Well, I think it has to be. I can't see why not at this moment in time. I mean, it's a difficult one really for the England goalkeeping situation at the moment. You don't feel entirely certain that Gareth Southgate has sort of settled on a number one that he's just going to stick with. You kind of get that sense in the back of his mind that he's sort of in a bit of a dilemma with it, and there's not an obvious candidate that's going to automatically play. And certainly then when you look, if that's the case, you look beyond that and you look at if you've got three goalkeepers in the squad and you're not certain who's number one, then obviously there's a chance for another goalkeeper to break into that three. And I think that's got to be Alex's first target is trying to get into the squad again before thinking about actually playing, which might be a bit more challenging. But I mean, at the moment, he's playing in a team that's riding high in the table. He's playing every week. He's playing very, very well. He's very consistent. He's not conceding many goals. He's making some really good saves. So if you just look at that on paper, how could he not be in contention realistically? It's still difficult. I think the one thing that slightly goes against him is the fact that he's doing really well, but he's not a showy, spectacular type of goalkeeper. He could catch the eye of Saints fans because we know what he's doing when we watch him week in, week out. But I think kind of a bit of the wider public probably are not quite as aware of who he is or what he's up to, because he's not, like I say, he's not showy. He just is very consistent. Everything about his game is just consistent, and it's not that he has one spectacular strength and then some weaknesses. He's just very good at everything, and that kind of consistency has been great for Saints. But I kind of also feel, in a strange kind of way, it counts against him when it comes to things like this, just because he doesn't get the attention that probably he deserves. But Southgate should be able to look beyond that, obviously, and see the performances he's putting in. And yeah, I think why not? He's in the top 3 English goalkeepers in the Premier League, in my opinion. So therefore, he should be in the England squad.
Yeah, he really has been putting in some vital blocks, hasn't he? Dean, where do you sit on this? Because as Adam just said, there aren't many better English goalkeepers at the moment.
No, I agree with Adam. I think McCarthy's in the best form of his career, especially for Southampton. He's performing very, very well. And he's probably in the best form out of all the English goalkeepers in the Premier League at the present moment. But will that get him in the England squad? I'm not sure. I think he deserves to be in the top 3. Is there any better ones than him at the moment? I mean, Jordan Pickford is very inconsistent, but does catch the eye because he can pull off some amazing saves, but will make some mistakes. You've got Joe Hart, you've got Nick Pope at Burnley, you've got Dean Henderson, I think it is, at Manchester United. But again, he's not playing, but seems to get in the squad. So I'm not quite sure what Gareth Southgate's thinking is, because, Dean Henderson's in the squad and played for England in the last international break, but is not playing for Manchester United. So it seems a little bit unfair, and McCarthy can come in and he's definitely in the top 3, and he'd be the sort of player or England goalkeeper that would want to play, but if he was number 2 or number 3, he'd be very happy and proud to be within the England squad, and that is good within the team and within the players. So his form is fantastic at the moment. He's playing very, very well. But like Adam said, would he catch the eye enough? Would he do enough to be able to move someone from out of that squad? I'm not sure, but he's definitely in the best form out of all English goalkeepers at the moment, and all he can do is continue that, play well for Southampton, and hopefully he gets an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, before we discuss the news that fans will be coming back to stadiums next week, let's take another look at what's being said on our social channels. Loads of optimism flying around, which is great to see. We've got a comment here from someone watching in Serbia. Thanks for joining us. Saints matches with Manchester United are my favourite. Isaac's also got in touch. They've said they're going for a 2-1 Saints win today. Shea and Yannick to get the goals. Eddie Smith, hello to you. He's on Facebook. He's watching from Berkshire. He says Theo to score and Saints to win 3-1. Redders needs to get over his hamstring first so he can come back having had a good rest. A final one for now then from Corey. Hello to you. He says, I feel like a Southampton win. Make sure you keep those comments coming into us, and we'll do our best to read as many of those out as possible throughout the show.
Yeah, and as Kenzie just said, we're going to be talking now about fans being able to return to stadiums in England. The government announced last week that from next weekend, fans will be able to come back based on which tier area they're going to be put into. So we're expecting 2,000 Brighton fans to be at the Amex next weekend, and then 2,000 Southampton fans at St Mary's the following one. Yeah,
Adam, I'd be interested to get your thoughts on this, because how much do you expect those 2,000 fans to make an impact on the atmosphere, if at all?
I think it will change things. And actually, I've been sort of mulling it over in my mind, because I obviously noted the comments from some of the managers who have clubs who are in tier 3 and therefore won't have any fans back. And they've obviously said from their perspective, it calls into question the integrity of the Premier League in a certain sense, because to have some clubs who can have a small amount of home fans in, and other clubs who will not be allowed that quote advantage, is unfair. And The thing is, I actually have a little bit of sympathy with that argument, because I actually think even having 2,000 fans in is going to change the dynamic. It's not obviously going to make a roaring, intimidating, packed stadium type noise or atmosphere, obviously. But I just think that the actual dynamic of having the fans there, of having some noise around, of not the guys not just feeling like they're in an empty stadium again, actually will have an impact on the players, even in a small way, even if it's subconsciously. But despite the fact that I think it's a little harsh on the clubs that find themselves in an area that's in tier 3, I think my overall verdict on it is that it's a good thing, because 2020 has obviously been a very challenging year for everybody. And yes, it might be a little bit harsh on some of those clubs that can't have their 2,000 fans in initially. But I think given the context of everything that's going on in the wider world, and where sport and football fits into that actually the sooner we can get people back into grounds, even if it's not all the grounds, the better it is. And it's the better it is not only for the Premier League, for the clubs, for the sport in general, but also for spectators for whom their love of sport, their love of their football club in this instance is huge. And in a year that's probably been taxing on most people's mental health in some way, to allow people back is more important than worrying about whether it causes problems overall. Might be different if we're talking about full capacity, but only a couple of thousand fans. I think it's a good thing, and I really welcome it, and I'm looking forward to seeing them back in the ground again.
Dean, you've been to a few matches behind closed doors in recent months. How do you think 2,000 fans are going to impact the game, being such a small crowd in such a big stadium?
Well, first of all, I think it's fantastic that the fans are back. I think it's brilliant. They're the heartbeat of football, and they've been sorely missed, and I think that's brilliant. A fantastic move, and hopefully a step in the right direction. Now, from a player's point of view, it'll be interesting to see how the players react, because playing in empty stadiums has almost become the norm now, and the players would have adapted to it and got used to it. And they would have been, some players have adapted really well to it and have looked relaxed and actually put better performances. Now, maybe that's not because of the pressure they've been under or the expectation. Now, 2,000 fans in a 30, 40, 50,000 seat stadium, I'm not sure how big an effect that's going to have on the players. One thing that they will be more aware of, you will be able to hear every comment from individual fans, which can be good or can be bad. So that would be interesting to see again how the players react. But no, I've been to games where the stadiums have been empty, and I think the players have been fantastic. They've kept the speed of the game up. The games have been exciting. There's been lots of goals, been lots of talking points, lots of decisions that have needed to be made. And one thing that I enjoyed when I went was been actually hear the managers and the coaches coach from the sideline, to actually hear the information they give to the players. I still think that they'll be able to do that, because 2,000 fans is not going to make a huge amount of noise. But no, I think it's brilliant. The more fans we can get back into stadiums, the better, because that is the emotion of football, and the players would have missed it. And I think when they do return to full stadiums, I think it'll put a smile on everyone's faces.
Yeah, such great news, isn't it? Now, Adam, we know you love a stat, and I think you're particularly going to like this one. Now, Southampton have made 760 backward passes so far in the Premier League. Only Chelsea and Liverpool have made more. Now, it's been said that fans do need to be patient with Southampton in their build-up play and the way Ralph likes to keep possession. Do you think that's true? And do you think that there will be more respect for that given the team's recent form?
Yeah, well, firstly, congrats. That is a good start.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think I don't. It is a strange stat though, because though that is obviously correct, and it's the way that Saints build up, I don't think they feel like, when you watch them, a team that are necessarily overly, because that kind of stat suggests. And talking about patience suggests negative play. But I don't really think that's something you can accuse Southampton of. It might be slightly more patient build-up at times. It might be trying to keep the ball. But actually, I think they're a very attacking team overall. They're a very dynamic team as well. So I don't necessarily have that much concern in that respect. But I think whatever the situation, I think that absolutely Ralph and the guys have bought themselves a lot of wiggle room with the fans, because they're doing so fantastically that why would supporters not back this? Why would they come to the ground and be in any way negative? Even if they're playing the team who are bottom of the league and it's 0-0 or they're 1-0 down with 10 minutes to go, I don't think that that's a reason right now that anybody's going to get on their back. In fact, they're going to be supporting them and cheering them on, or at least I think they should be. And I think that really the way that Saints have performed, both the manner of the performance and the results, has kind of bought them that get out of jail free card, that free pass with the supporters. And I think the supporters will be patient with the team because they can see the progress that's being made. And that's all you want sometimes at a club, especially a club like Southampton. You just want to see that they're on the right track, that they're going places, that you can enjoy coming and turning up and watching them play. And as long as they're doing that and they're committed to that, I think the fans will get behind them. Saints have got great fans. They've always been like that. They're not overly demanding on results all the time, because most Saints fans appreciate where the club is. But what they do want to see is they want to see good football. They want to see a committed team and playing in a way that they like to watch the game. And if the team are doing that and they can see the progress being made, they will 100% back them. And that is what this team is doing at the moment. So they will back them.
Yeah, we haven't left you out here, Dean. We do have a stat for you as well. Saints have made the fewest number of crosses into the box in the Premier League this season with 104. Now, what does that say about the way they want to keep possession? And is that actually easier to do because games are behind closed doors?
This is where I think stats can be a little bit misleading, because it depends how you judge a backward pass or a cross. Is it a deep line cross? Is it a cross that's pulled back? Because I think Southampton play exciting football, creative football. They're brilliant to watch. You know, there's no atmosphere in the stadiums, but I think we're all on the edge of our seats watching Southampton play because of the way they attack. They're committed and they play with high energy. I just think the team that play at the moment, they play the ball into the front players more often than not, to combine, to play 1-2s, to get in behind, to make runs in behind. There's good combinations, there's shots at goal. So, and the wide players become more central as well. The width becomes from the fullbacks, which will get crosses in. So they can't always be up and down every minute of every part of the game. I think Southampton play a brilliant style. They keep the ball and they keep possession when needed, but it's progressive possession. They try and get us forward as quickly as they can. So I'm not a massive one on stats, if I'm honest, because I think this is where they can be misleading, because I wouldn't have guessed that Southampton would be up the higher end of lower crosses or playing the ball forward. So no, they're playing brilliantly. And I think the fans, when they get back in the stadium, they'll love watching Southampton play.
Well, before we move the chat on to some FPL talk, Steve, which I'm sure you're very much looking forward to because you are beating us all in the league, we're going to nod to what you are saying at home. Plenty of comments coming in from you guys. Danny Turner, hello to you. He says, me and my son Alfie ready for the game. Saints to win 2-1 and Shay to score both. Come on, you Saints. Thanks for that. Rosemary's also got in touch. She says she's full of confidence today. She thinks the boys can definitely do it and she is going for a 2-0 win. Callum, good afternoon. He says McCarthy had a blinder against Wolves. If he can do that against United today, Saints will win. And Dean has also said Saints are in the form of their lives. We have a comment here from Daniel Monk, which I think Adam is going to particularly like. We always have plenty of love on social media for Dean, of course. He is a club legend. But Daniel said Adam Leitch should be on Sky Sports. Adam, how do you respond?
I thank you very much. I'm very happy here.
The perfect response, ever loyal to Southampton.
Well, I'd have to put some trousers on or something if I went to Sky Sports, so I'm quite happy at home.
Absolutely, Saints Live is more fun.
Yeah, definitely. Right, this is a segment I have been looking forward to the return of for weeks. It's our Fantasy Premier League chat. We created a league at the start of the season, so let's find out how we're getting on. Adam, how's your squad looking? fully fit?
Mainly injured, Steve. Almost exclusively injured. It's been a disastrous start. I'm like Jurgen Klopp. I'm blaming it's the TV schedules. All my players are injured because of BT Sport or something. I don't know. It's a disaster. It's a shambles. But then, if you pay literally zero attention to it, then you get what you pay for, don't you? Really. The only good thing is there's one redeeming feature in my team, and that is my patience. And when I say patience, I mean I just pick them, and obviously I never change it. But with Joe Linton, it's paying off because I thought that was arguably the worst FPL signing of all time by me, and now look at him, he's flying.
Did you say paying off? Hasn't he got a 1 goal?
I love the positives. He's trying to find the positives here.
And an assist. He got an assist, Steve, as well.
Oh, fair enough then. Well, we were talking about stats, and Adam, here's another one. Out of the 4,482 players in our FPL league, you are 4,254th. How does that make you feel?
I would be absolutely embarrassed if I was in the 240 that are below me. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that
Imagine being worse than me.
Your career as an FPL manager is not quite as successful as your career as a reporter and on Saints Live, of course. Dean, how are you getting on?
Well, I've come to mutual consent with the board that I'm going to resign from my team because they're obviously not. I prefer they put me on gardening leave. I think I'm not doing too well. I don't think. I'm a bit like Adam. I've kind of left them to their own devices and had confidence in my team, whether they're injured or not, to continue playing. And they've not picked up too many points. So I'm not the best manager or coach in the world, and that's probably why I'm not managing or coaching in real life. So I don't think my team's doing too well. But do you know what? I couldn't even tell you, Kenzie. I've not looked at it this week.
Do you know what I love? Any questions we put to Adam and Dean, they always answer with so much confidence. But it's the only time we see you squirm in your seats a little bit when we bring up the FPL. But if anyone watching along at home would like to join the fun, the league code is B7X61H. So do join our league if you fancy.
Yeah, I just have to throw it out there. I think it's going to be a while before this segment does return again.
Yeah.
But out of everyone in the room here, I'm top, by the way.
You are. Hats off.
Not of the league. I'm still more than 2,000 deep in the league, but we're top. Right, we need to talk about today's game. So the last time Saints met Manchester United at Old Trafford, Michael Obafemi scored an equaliser to earn them a point. But before we talk about all that, let's see some highlights from that game.
Ward-Prowse, loose touch, now they're in trouble. Oh, it's a mistake from the skipper. It should be 1-0. Great save, Alex McCarthy, to stop Anthony Martial. Through on goal, 1-on-1. For all money, the Frenchman looked like he was going to score. And now they've given it away, United. Now Saints can pounce. Redmond in the box on the left. Chips it to the back post. Surely it's 1-0. It is. And Stuart Armstrong chests it down and half volleys it past David De Gea. A mistake in midfield, possibly by Paul Pogba, has given Southampton the lead at Manchester United. As I say that, Luke Shaw burst past the 1-2 from Martial. Lovely ball to Rashford. 1-1, but the flag goes up early. Rashford's offside. Jean Massieli says that is not going to count. Crossing from the right, shouldn't have got as far as Martial, it did. Tries to turn, Rashford to his left, 1-1. And again, that was avoidable from Southampton. United shift it over halfway through Pogba and Fernandes and out to the left wing. And here's Martial onto his right foot with pace, and he smashes it past McCarthy. And suddenly Manchester United have come to life and come back from a goal behind to lead. Plays it down the left for Martial. This is dangerous. Pulls it back. Oh, and it should have been a brilliant goal. How did they not score? Here's a corner from Ward-Prowse. Whipped into the danger area, and Southampton have equalised. And it's Michael Obafemi who specialises in away goals. He scored the substitute. It was a wicked corner from James Ward-Prowse. That's it.
And that's it.
Full time. Manchester United 2, Southampton 2.
Dean, that game really seems to epitomise the fight and confidence that this Saints team has been playing with over the last 6 months. What do you recall from that match at Old Trafford?
Well, I remember it being an excellent result, an excellent performance, taking a deserved lead in the game, going to Old Trafford and playing the way Southampton played with the philosophies they've got, and a deserved point at the end with a late equaliser. But I just remember the game from having more possession than Manchester United, having more shots at goal. And that's a big thing at Old Trafford. And like you say, Kenzie, it's kind of continued. The theme's continued since then. It was a never say die attitude to keep going to the end, and to get a goal from a set piece, an excellent delivery from James Ward-Prowse. And, you know, to go to Old Trafford and play like they did would have given them huge confidence. And that really did build that momentum that we saw was building anyway. They were getting results. And it gave the players belief to be able to go to Manchester United, outplay them, have more shots at them, and still get a result, even when they were 2-1 down until the 90th minute. To draw 2-2 was brilliant, and they continued that on, and it's been the same ever since.
Yeah, it's feeling like we've done really well against Man United in recent years, and mainly away from home. But Adam, we actually haven't beaten Manchester United at St Mary's since 2003. So what do you remember of recent home games against the Red Devils? And it's probably about time we deserved a result.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, it shows how long I've been around. I was covering that game in 2003. And yeah, I guess it is strange. You're absolutely right. It doesn't feel like that should be the stat, because they actually have done pretty well. Obviously, away from home, they've done exceptionally well, but they've played pretty well against United. And when you think back over mainly since Saints have been returned to the Premier League again, most of those games, they've been pretty tight. There's been quite a few draws. I think the majority of games that United have won, they've nicked by the odd goal somewhere, like a 1-0 or a 2-1 or a 3-2. There's not been much to choose. Saints have played really well against them, and yeah, it's definitely a surprise really that stat should still stand, given their sort of overall record against them in the last sort of 15 years or so. But I guess Man United, probably their stats against most teams are going to be relatively impressive. Even the fact that they're not the team now that they obviously once were, that they still are finishing up in the top echelons of the league year after year. And so they are beating most teams. So I suppose that we perhaps shouldn't be surprised, but definitely a result and a win is overdue, because I think the performances that Saints have put in over the last certainly, like I say, since they've been promoted back to the Premier League, they should have got at least one win out of those performances.
Adam, I want to stick with you for this one. When we faced Manchester United in July, they were a side in form. They were unbeaten in 6, and Solskjaer did have them playing well. But what have you made of their season so far this year?
I just feel like they're still in Man United overall are still in a slight state of flux. I feel they're still in transition. They obviously haven't got completely back on track given the size of their club since Alex Ferguson left. There was obviously a big rebuilding job that needed doing, because the squad that Fergie left when he left the last time, obviously I think we could all see needed rebuilding, and there was a lot of work for somebody to do. They've obviously gone for a few managers, but I think the problem they've got is, for me, I just not entirely sure that Solskjaer is their long-term man. And I think that is underlying everything that goes on. Like, they have a few wins, like they have a little bit of form like they've got now, and people are okay, maybe we stick with him. Then they lose a few and it's like, yeah, he's just not the guy. But while you've got that all the time, you've got a problem. When you look at Saints, I realise completely the expectations are different on Saints. I completely appreciate that. But you look at what's happened now with Ralph. When you get a manager who you feel like you can get behind and you can see where they want to go and you believe in it, in a long-term vision, then you will ride out the dips in that, because you'll think, well, we'll come through those. I think the problem with Solskjaer is that people just aren't completely bought into him. And I think that to be honest with you, if they had the opportunity to have got Pochettino when they did, they made a mistake not getting him. I think ultimately somebody like that, and particularly him, given what I know about him as a person as well from his time at Saints, could turn Man United back into a force again, given 5 years and the right budget. I just think the problem is they just feel like they're moving from one relatively short-term solution to another all the time at the moment, both in terms of, partly in terms of manager, but also partly in terms of the squad and what they do. I think that kind of underlies everything they've got. Dean was right. They've still got a bunch of world-class players at the club. they're still a really good team, and Solskjaer's doing a decent job. He's not a terrible manager, and I'm not saying that, but I just feel that until they get to a point where they feel like they've got a manager who is going to be there and make a difference for the long term, they're going to struggle to get back to where they want and where they expect to be. And that's sort of underlying everything. And until they sort that out, they aren't going to be a team that's challenging for the title again or the Champions League, I don't think.
Yeah, well, Southampton are on their longest unbeaten run since 2013, but Manchester United could actually set a club record today of 8 consecutive away wins. Dean, who are the match winners in each squad?
Well, there's definitely a lot of match winners in both squads. If you look through the Man United team, Fernandes, Rashford, Van der Beek's obviously found a bit of form now and will be an excellent player for the club. You've got Cavani, who's come in with his experience, and if they can get him fit and firing, he's a world-class player. Martial, you never know with him; he's hit and miss, but if he plays well, he's an exceptional player. And with Southampton, Shay Adams is performing really well. Stuart Armstrong, Theo Walcott's finding some form, and I always think if James Ward-Prowse plays well and he plays at his best, Southampton played very well, and the same with Walker-Peters. I think the best performance Southampton this season is when he's playing at his best, when he's flying up and down that wing, when he's running with the ball, when he's direct, he's getting attacking situations. He causes many, many problems for opposition. So there's some world-class players and very good players in both teams, and they're both in good form. But I do fancy Southampton. I really do. I just think they see this and think, okay, we can outscore Manchester United, and we've got a better. I honestly would say I would rather have Southampton's defence than Man United's defence at the moment in current form, just because I think they've got more confidence together and they have better relationships. So it's whoever's going to defend the best. But I see Southampton scoring more than Manchester United today, and you wouldn't say that many times. So it's a good feeling.
All right, well, let's put you on the spot then, Dean. It's that time of the show where we ask you for your score predictions. You are favouring the Saints, but what do you think the scoreline will be today?
It's going to be tough. I think it'll be a really good test for Southampton. I think that there will be goals today. There will definitely be opportunities. I was edging towards a 2-2 draw, but I'm going to go for 2-1 to Southampton.
Adam, I suppose you were going to say the same, weren't you? What's your score prediction today?
That's exactly the same. I mean, Dean's stolen it yet again. I mean, obviously, I say he stole it last time, but as I got the prediction right, I was only joking, obviously, last time. I think it's going to be. I completely agree with what Dean says. I think it's actually could be a really entertaining game today. I actually think the two teams might turn out to be fairly evenly matched, and so I am going to go boringly with another 1-1 draw, I think.
Okay.
Sticking to his guns.
Yeah, good stuff. Right, well, thank you very much for joining us, gentlemen. We'll see you after the game. Southampton will aim to keep the good form rolling against an indifferent Manchester United team. Do join us after for the final whistle, where we'll have all the reaction, and we'll see you then.